What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Underground Railroad. First, I want to take a moment to give all praises to the Lord and to just take a moment just to thank Him for everything that He has done. I want to pray for everybody out there. I hope everybody is doing well. Let's stay focused. Let's stay humble. Let's take it one day at a time, and let's let God lead us where we need to be. So I want to take a minute just to kind of briefly talk through a lot of the things that are going on in the country and kind of list out some of the top concerns of American citizens today in 2021. First off, one of the big looming things is the economy. In general, the economy was doing good. The numbers that they pump out, say the economy is doing okay, it's growing. But, I can't help but to see all of the help wanted and employees needed signs everywhere. I'm just wondering, where's all the workers at? Where's everybody at? Nobody wants to work these days, right? I really don't understand what exactly it is that's keeping people from going out and applying for all these jobs. It's definitely employees market. So, if you know somebody that's looking for a job or know somebody that needs to get a job, push them, encourage them, tell them to get out there in the workforce, because every American that we have filling one of these needed positions actually strengthens the country, strengthens the economy. That money's got to go around, circle around, in and out of this economy. The economy is like a machine, and when the money's not flowing, that machine will lock up. The last thing we need is for the economy to start slowing down and contracting. So let's get out there and get those jobs. The gap between the wealthy and the poor, that wealth gap continues to expand. I've seen statistics where some of the wealthiest people during this coronavirus epidemic have gotten even wealthier. This is something that has got to be addressed. I know this is a capitalist society. I get that. And I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, we have to make things a little more economically fair for people. And that starts by people just getting out there and getting jobs, right? But there's a lot of things that we could go into as far as the things that these kids are learning into school. They actually need to teach kids about money, teach kids about interest rates, teach kids about mortgages, teach kids about credit, investing in stocks, saving your money. These are all things that, when I went through the public school system, they were not taught. There's a lot of curriculum in these schools that, especially these days, there's no place for it in the school system. Let's teach kids, the needed skills, the needed knowledge that they're going to need throughout their life, right? So the federal budget, the deficit, wow, just astronomical figures. This thing will never be paid down in my lifetime, especially with the amount of money that they're trying to write off in these spending bills. Trillions of dollars in debt. We've got to get this in control. And the only way we're going to get this spending in control is if we, the American people, speak up and we tell these politicians, look, you guys have to cut out all this wasteful spending. All this spending you guys do on irrelevant things, there's really more important things that we could be spending all this money on. Should not be homeless people on the streets. Should not be dilapidated homes in these areas. Should not be blight and drug-infested neighborhoods in the United States of America. There's just absolutely too much money and influence for this to be this way, right? I get it. It's designed. There's a system. You keep the impoverished needing and wanting. You're going to have that element that's in the street selling drugs, doing things like that. Those people get arrested. Those people go to jail. Those people need lawyers. Then you need cops. It's just a bad cycle all the way through the correctional institutions, which goes right back to education. We've got to show these kids a better way. We've got to show these kids that there is light at the end of the tunnel without doing illegal things, right? Show them how to get that job, how to save money, how to invest the money, and how to make their money legally. Okay, we've got to save the children. We've got to get the violence out of these streets, which brings us to another problem in the country. All of the violence that's hitting these cities. I mean, the murder statistics, just outrageous numbers. And then on the flip side of that, you have people asking and wanting and demanding to defund the police. I get it. I get that there is some sort of reform that needs to happen, right? But just to totally disband the police departments, that's not even logical thinking. If we're going to disband anything, it might be some of the leaders that we've had in political positions for decades. Right? Let's think about these government officials that maybe need to be replaced with new, fresh blood, with new, fresh ideas. People that want to get the country moving in a positive way. Because you know what? Everything that I see, there's nothing positive right now. When I turn on the news, it's negative and downright scary when you think about the way that America looks to the rest of the world. We've got inflation, the cost of living. It just keeps going up and up and up. Ever since the coronavirus, the economy has stayed stagnant, in my opinion, but the cost of everything has went up, and I don't see a cap yet, which is scary. When I go to the grocery store, my dollar gets me less and less and less in that cart, and I make pretty good money. So, which I can't fathom how there are people out there that really just don't want to work with all these open positions. Hey, I like to make every dollar I can so that I can save and be prepared for when bad things happen. People have lack of money issues, wage issues. Wages have been stagnant. For years, wages have been stagnant. So, this all comes back to having a strong economy, and we as American people, the biggest thing that we can do, the biggest influence that we have is we have to come together. I've said it many times. We have to come together, and we have to establish under a common ground, under a common umbrella. We have to understand that the country needs to go in a certain direction, and it needs to go in a positive direction. And I don't care what color you are, what race, what religion, what ethnic, whatever you are, we can all agree that this country is not going in the direction that it needs to go. And there's a lot of opinions out there of the direction it should go. But I'm going to tell you, there's one right direction. And the way it's going right now is not it. Okay? Oil prices, taxes, foreign trade, corruption in politics, in corporations. These are legitimate issues that are out there on the minds of Americans today. I'm looking at these statistics now. Government poor leadership, coronavirus disease, race relations and racism. That's a big one, right? That's a big one that we need to get a lot deeper in. We need to talk about that. And that's going to be one of those conversations that it's not real warm and fuzzy. It's not a real warm-hearted conversation, but with a country that's been, for lack of a better way of saying it, this country was deeply rooted in slavery, and racism has grown out of that. It spawned out of that. So there's a lot of things that we need to all come together and talk about. We've got a lot of global tensions around the world. Climate change is another huge one. There's just a lot of things out there that we need to come together. We need to talk about. We need to discuss. One of these topics I'm going to focus on in my next video, and we're going to dig a lot deeper into that. So stay tuned. Race relations in this country today, at times you can look around and it seems like it's at an all-time low. I think we've probably seen lower points, because in general, I think the majority of Americans actually get along and want to get along. I think there's truth to be said with the logic of there are people that just don't experience or know a lot of people of other races and ethnicities. There are some people that they don't have the exposure, but my own personal experience, I know a lot of people of all different races, and we for the most part all get along. I mean, I know a lot of good people that are all different races. In fact, where I work, there's a lot of different diversity around, and we all get it along and coexist, and there's no drama involved with it. So I think it's a big part of who you surround yourself with. But I know on some level there you put yourself in places that you really can't control who you're around. But I think on a deeper level, it's going to take people policing people in a sense. If you hear somebody say something that doesn't sit right or shouldn't be said, that's one of those ways where we all have to come together. If we want to really nip that racial tension and racial divide in the bud, that's one of those things that we're really going to have to find a way to unify. And that's actually on this list here, unifying the country. Because today, all the citizens of this country are so polarized and divided into different segments of the country. We're divided by race, we're divided by religion, social status, political, beliefs. I mean, there's all kinds of divisions. So we all have to find some common ground, and that common ground is the soil that we stand on. This country, this is such a wonderful country, such a beautiful country, and the founding fathers of this country, had a vision of what they thought it should be. And there are people that disagree with the foundings of this country, and they have their rights to their opinions, right? But we're here, right? The country's here, it's here, and we have to find a way to make this work. I mean, I'm not sure why it's so hard for people to understand that we're here. Let's find a way to make this work. Being in conflict with each other, being divided by all these, minor, what I think are really minor issues, to allow them to keep this country divided really weakens us as a nation. I mean, if we were all able to come together and join up and actually put all that negative energy into something positive, that's how they're able to keep us so controlled. And what I mean by controlled is we're so focused and worried on so many petty issues. They're able to, on the other hand, do everything they want to do to us, and we're totally blind to it. America, we have to wake up. We have got to wake up, or we're going to wake up one day without a country. Literally. There are forces out there. There are real forces out there in these countries that are really trying to infiltrate this great land that we have. They're trying to infiltrate the politics, the government. Decades ago, you would have never thought that was even possible. But they're working on it. And some of the stuff that I see and I read man, it's really scary, and it's really possible. And the one thing they're doing right is keeping us all distracted. We're the ones they have to defeat. They can buy those politicians off. What do you think's been happening all this time? We're the ones that they have to keep asleep so that they can take this place over. That's why we all have to come together, find some common ground, put away the things that are keeping us divided. I'm not saying that we don't have to address that at some point, because we do. But for right now, we have to save the democracy that we have. I mean, they're trying to take guns from us. They're trying to restrict us from traveling here and there. They're trying to force upon us decisions upon our health. I mean, they're doing a lot of things that boil down to total government control. Over in China now, they've got a social credit system where, you know, they've got facial recognition cameras everywhere, and a lot of the decisions that you make, the things you spend your money on, you know, even traffic tickets, just every little segment part of your life is calculated into a score that they place upon you, and it gives you a value. That's too much. And you know what? It's probably not too long before it tries to come over here. But this is America, folks. This is the greatest nation on the face of this earth. And it can even be better. But frankly, it can get worse. And I'm going to tell you, if we don't step in and make some changes, it's going to get worse. This country has not seen its darkest hours. And if we stay the course that we're on, we will see those darkest hours. And I just pray that it's much, much later. But I'm afraid that it's going to be much, much sooner than any of us can imagine. So, back to some of the concerns of the American citizens: the environment, climate change, violence, poverty, hunger, ethics, morality, religion, right? All of that's families in decline. Families have been in decline for decades. You know, it's almost a rarity to find a mother and a father that have been together and have had children and are still together 50, 60 years later. It's a rarity. What's most commonplace, especially in a lot of the urban communities, you know, you have a single mother with children. And I'm not necessarily going to blame that on the family apparatus. Again, there are outside forces at play. Decisions that politicians have handed down and have affected the moral fabric of this country. Welfare being a huge one. I believe that welfare was actually probably one of the biggest, you know, one of the sole biggest factors of the decline of the family. Right? You no longer need a father in the house if there's an income coming in the door. You know? So we got to find a way to get government out of our lives. You know, it's okay if the government wants to pave a new road, or, you know, they want to build a school, or they want to protect our shores with, you know, a navy and an army and whatnot. But when it comes to my individual rights and me being allowed to pursue happiness, the government should have nothing to do with that. Healthcare, election reform, the judicial system, the media. The media is a big part of this problem. You know, the media, they spin stories. They basically tell us what they want us to hear. And these days, with today's technology, with CGI and everything, they can make people look like they're saying things. They can Photoshop stuff. I mean, we really don't know We know what they tell us. And, a lot of what they tell us proves to not be so great. The current administration that's in office, obviously they won the election, right? And I'm not going to get into that too deeply, but I'm going to say, ever since we've been here, I thought things were supposed to turn around and change. I haven't seen any change, and it's in some circles. There are people that say it's worse. I can see things getting worse. This Afghanistan debacle, with one decision, you can make the whole world look at a country like, what are you guys doing? We spend 20 years over there, hundreds of millions of dollars per day, and we just walk away, leaving billions upon billions of dollars worth of military equipment in the hands of the Taliban that we know they're going to either use back against us or use against one of our allies or to torture and enslave their own people. Who paid for that $83 billion worth of equipment left over there? Oh, American taxpayers. They ain't worried about it. We'll just get some more money out of them. Right? Where's the outrage about this? Who can make an $83 billion error and it just be okay? Not to mention, what this decision to leave this country in this condition, what it makes America look like. You've got China that's moving in and they're going to harvest all those resources over there, all that lithium that's over there. I just don't get some of the decisions that they're making. It seems like the decisions that they're making are intentionally to weaken us as a nation. And the only way, people, that this is going to change is when we say enough is enough. And I'm trying to get you guys to agree with me and to say, wait a minute, enough is enough. All of this inter-turmoil that we have amongst ourselves as Americans, I'm going to tell you guys, it's time to put that stuff away. It's time to put it away. Have you guys checked out any of the music videos today and thought about what these images and things are doing to the younger generations in our country? There's all kinds of images, all the way to worshiping Satan in these music videos today. And maybe some of you aren't so familiar with that type of stuff. That's probably good. But I advise you, if you've got kids, if you've got, young kids and they have access to internet on their cell phones and stuff, you might want to check out some of this content that's out there. It's rather troubling. So education, gun control, drugs, foreign policy, national security, abortion, school shootings, care for the elderly, AI and computer technology wanting to take over the world. Eventually, they're trying to force healthcare, if you will, on us. Eventually, they're going to try to force all kinds of stuff on us to try to monitor and control you. The Bible says there'll be a mark in your forehead or in your right hand. A lot of people feel that's going to be some sort of a computer chip or something like that. It makes sense. Just one in your credit card, one in your cell phone. There's a shortage of chips right now. It makes you kind of wonder what, I get their explanation of where the shortage of chips are. But it just makes me wonder if they're not getting a stockpile for the billions of people that's on the planet. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. War and conflicts against, nations around the world. Terrorism. Speaking of terrorism, back in the early 2000s, they said, hey, look, folks, we want to have this war overseas. We want to fight this war on foreign soil so that we can make sure that those fighters are over there and not trying to come over here to America and cause chaos. But they made a decision to pull out of Afghanistan. And you give this country back to the same people that you tried to eliminate or eradicate, or at least permanently weaken. And that didn't happen. And not only did that not happen, when you left them with billions of dollars of US technology and equipment. So there's actually truly an argument that you left and made them stronger, because not only did you leave them with all that equipment, now they've got these so-called former US trained Afghani personnel that are now probably going to end up fighting with them because they'd have no other options. So it's only a matter of time before they start harvesting these homegrown terrorists and start shipping them back over to the shores of America. So much going on. And this is just scratching the surface. I mean, I've been talking all this time and just scratching the surface. So I'm going to start ramping this up. I'm going to start digging into a lot of these topics. Hang in there with me. It's going to get a lot deeper. We're going to get really deep with a lot of this stuff. You might not agree with, everything I have to say. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I guarantee you this. We can all agree that we want this country to be on top. And when I say on top, we want it to be on top of the world just like it's been for centuries. But we also need it to be equal for all. And we also need it to be under God. So with that, I'm out. Stay tuned. I'm out.